Candidate in a leadership race not to participate in the debate is like a fish who says he doesn't want to swim in the ocean. I mean, this is the basic thing that we all need to do and should be accountable for. And I want to commend both Roman and Scott for being here.
That's Conservative leadership candidate Jean Charest taking a shot at rival who didn't show up last night. It was the third and final official debate before the Conservatives choose their next leader on September 10th. Charest sat down with Scott Aitchison and Roman Baber for a pretty civil talk about the issues, but frontrunner Pierre Poilievre and Leslyn both skipped the debate to keep on campaigning. For more on last night's debate, we're joined by Peter MacKay. He is a former Conservative cabinet minister under the Harper government, also a former leadership contender himself, and joins us this morning from Kings Head, Nova Scotia. Thank you for your time this morning, Mr. MacKay. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Hannah. Thank you.
We got to start with this. What stood out for you in last night's debate?
Well, I mean, aside from the format, which, as you indicated, was quite informal, sitting around a table, having almost a kitchen table type discussion, although I would say that it was quite substantive. It wasn't as heated with the rhetoric, perhaps often associated with these type of debates. And quite frankly, I think at this stage of the game, that was good. It was good for the Conservative Party. It was good for those who were tuning in, for at least some who wanted to hear where the candidates really stood on issues as opposed to who could get in the best jab or attack their opponent. Civility, I suppose, is what stood out.
Yeah, it's nice to see that in politics, for sure. There was a big focus on party unity, though, Mr. MacKay. Jean Charest was asked if he would stick with the party if Pierre Poilievre wins, and Mr. Charest refused to answer that question. What do you think of that?
Well, look, I think there's a lot of effort right now to exploit divisions within the party, which, again, I don't think benefits anyone other than the governing Liberals, quite frankly. It may be good sport, but, you know, having been through the proverbial Conservative wars over the years, this is, not to mix metaphors, our Achilles heel. When we start to fray at the edges, when we start to single out one type of Conservative over another, this inevitably backfires on us and comes back very much in a general election to hurt us in ways that may prevent us from forming government.
Let me just ask you, go back a bit here and just ask you, what do you think of the fact that the frontrunner, Pierre Poilievre, didn't show up to this official debate and had to pay that $50,000 fine?
Well, I think the key word here is official debate. I mean, this was sanctioned by the party. It was also, interestingly, the decision to have a third debate was taken by the broader membership. They did quite an extensive poll, reaching out to those who had signed up, and it's a huge number, Hannah, as you know, over 600,000 members. And the overwhelming desire of the party, the membership, was to have this third debate and to perhaps, you know, get another look at all of the candidates before people cast their ballots. So I'm sure, you know, there was a calculated decision taken on the part of some candidates over others, but I do tend to agree that, you know, the more exposure that you have and the testing of your ideas, the testing of your policy is a pretty critical component for the voting membership. And this was an opportunity for all candidates to do that, to showcase their ideas, their vision, not their strategy so much as their policies that they think will make them and the party electable. And that is kind of the unspoken truth, Hannah, here. This is the fourth election that the Conservative Party is going into against Justin Trudeau, potentially. And winnability has to be on the ballot. Who poses the best opportunity to form government in the next election, I think, has to be among the top of the ballot questions.
Let me jump in there, because Jean Charest keeps saying he is the only candidate that can win a general election. Do you think Mr. Poilievre would be able to win a general election?
Well, there's no way to predict that with any accuracy. All candidates are going to claim that. I certainly did, others did, and that is something that has to be really carefully examined by the membership when it comes to their vote. One has to really look at what Canadians, and this is where it gets complicated, Hannah. One has to look beyond this contest and into the next election. And what are the qualities? What are the policies? What is that sometimes intangible element of an individual that makes them electable over what's popular within the party right now?
I want to ask you, Mr. Harper came out and backed Mr. Poilievre, supported him. After you and Mr. Harper merged the party, Harper was able to unify and bring all sides of the Conservative Party together. Now, with this endorsement of Mr. Poilievre, do you think that means Harper feels Poilievre can do the same? Because, to be frank, there are many different factions of the Conservative Party.
And there always has been, and there always perhaps will be. But we have to appeal to this broader Canadian population, as I just said. I was, quite frankly, a little taken aback by that. I think it's rather unprecedented for a former leader, and in this case, a former prime minister, to jump in with both feet, to declare their support for one candidate over another. I don't think that's helpful. Frankly, I think especially in a Conservative Party that prides itself on being respectful of the membership, leaders do still have some influence. And, I haven't quite frankly seen this. And, my own temptation was to do the same, but I believe it should be left to the membership. I will express my opinions privately with respect to my preferences. And I think that the party itself has to look beyond past leaderships and look to the future as to how we are able to form a government again. I can't emphasize that enough. This really is a critical moment in the party's history. I don't want to see any exploitation of old fault lines. I don't want this to be about the legacy parties. I really feel a new generation has to step in here and make this about a modern, thoughtful, inclusive Conservative Party that can win in all parts of the country, Hannah, with policies that are going to speak to that new generation.
I don't have a lot of time, but I want to pick your brain on this one. To be frank, there are a lot of different, there's red Tories, there's blue Tories, there's social conservatives, and now we're also seeing some very I would say even almost fringe elements that are coming in as well. Jean Charest's not making it clear that he will stand side by side with Pierre Poilievre. Patrick Brown was clear that he wouldn't. Are you concerned, and we've been seeing it in stories lately, that if Mr. Poilievre wins, that we're going to see a split in the Conservative Party again?
Well, Hannah, I can speak for myself. I'm a purple Tory. I mean, I'm a Tory that has elements of all of these different aspects or branches of the Conservative Party. And I think over time, you inevitably evolve with your perspectives, your own values. I really do feel that there is danger if we continue to exploit, as I said before, what the parties perhaps are perceived, or the elements of the party are perceived to stand for. I would far rather us focus on what unites us, and that is fiscal conservatism, a respect for our military, our institutions, law and order. We're a law and order party. We sometimes tend, at least recently, to have drifted from that. We're a party that really is about that proverbial big tent, bringing people in. We're intergenerational. We're a party that goes back to the very beginnings, but we also have to look at where we are on foreign policy, on issues that include, of course, our support for important social values. This is the only way we're going to have a competitive democracy in the country, Hannah. That means a party that can replace the current governance. And that has to be there. It is an essential ingredient that we have a party that is an alternative to govern. And it's also important that we allow people to have a choice. And right now, that is being stretched to the limits.
Okay, I'm going to have to end it there. But Peter MacKay, thank you for your time this morning. Always nice to have a discussion.
Thanks very much, Hannah. The best to you.
Best to you. Peter MacKay, former Conservative cabinet minister, thank you for your time.